This is Pranav Goa Thakurta from EduTV. We are a progressive education company dedicated to bring the latest happenings in the world of academics and education to its audience. Our repository has more than 1,000 speakers from various industry. We welcome everyone. As because of the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, there are a lot of changes happening in the education industry. The schools and other education institutions are under pressure with a lot of queries and concerns in terms of the new normal for for the schools and education institutions during and post this outbreak, and quality of solutions for teachers, parents, and children during and post coronavirus outbreak. To help us find answer to all our queries and enlighten us with many other important things to be considered, today we have with us experts from the field of medical and education. Before we invite the experts from the medical field, I would like to welcome Mr. Uttam Kumar Jha, the chairman of CBSE Sahodaya Schools, Indore. He is also the principal of Chaitram School, Indore. Welcome, sir. Now we welcome Dr. Kuldeep Singh, Dean of All India Institute of Medical Science, Jodhpur. With more than 30 years of experience, Dr. Singh has not only been into leading many areas in the medical field, such as medical genetics, clinical dysmorphology, genetic counseling, developmental biology, medical innovations, educational research. He has also been responsible for curriculum development, implementation, enhancing students' learning, faculty development, and facilitations. Welcome, Dr. Kuldeep Singh. We request you to kindly share in your inputs with the gathering today on the new normal for the schools and education institutions during and post this outbreak. May I please request everyone, we may please hear him for initial 15 to 20 minutes, and please write your questions on the chat. Thank you so much. Welcome, Dr. Kuldeep Singh. Sir.
Thank you, and good morning to everyone. And I am just happy that so many people, academicians, have joined in this EduTV program from all over the India and also from abroad. I welcome you all, and I thanks the organizer EduTV, Mr. Pranay, for giving us the opportunity to talk on this a very important aspect which is happening in the education field nowadays. Actually, this is an opportunity I was waiting for, because when the students come to the medical field, they have already passed your education process. And when we nurture them from there onward. So what we found that there are certain things which are very good in our education system, but certain things need to be improved in our education system for the students. So when the students come here, they are raw. They have been tuned to the face-to-face classroom setting of learning. But when they are exposed to the professional course like medicine or engineering, then they have to expose to the professional life of the professional life, because this is another dimension which we never discuss when we are in the like schools. And what we realize that our education system is such that we never taught them the values which are required when we practice as an engineer or technocrat or a professional. And most of the time we are concentrating on mostly on the academic and the marks. So I will be touching on some of the aspects. So the topic is a new normal for schools and education institutes during and after COVID. So know that the purpose of education, if we ask anybody what is the purpose of education, there may be varied answer. And I think it will be very easier to answer what is the purpose of life than to define the purpose of education. And when we say the purpose of education is to support the children in developing the skills, the knowledge, and the disposition that will allow them to be responsible, contributing members of their community and their democratically informed community. So this has remained same for centuries. It has not changed. The purpose of education is not changed. What has changed is our attitude and our society. We know about our education system, that is, it is mostly focused on the academics. We teach the students to mug up the lessons and to vomit it out in the examinations. And when we talk about the education, we talk about the philosophy, we talk about the national education policy, we also talk about the national health policy, but they again remains the ideals, but the reality is far from them. We never practice that ideals into our practice, and we don't have the integrated values. That is, there is a need for integration of the values which has to be inculcated among the students. Just for example, when the student come here, they pass an exam which consists of for the medicine, it is physics, chemistry and bio. But a very small part of this is used when they become a doctor. The major part of this is the communication process and the life skills and life values, which are a part of the moral education in our schools, but it is not being touched. The life skills education is a part of the children from 8th to 10th class, but it is not being discussed, or it is being left to the curricular books to be read at home with the parents. We also know that the best education we derived, the first school of our life is home. When we are born, then the first relationship developed with the mother, and later on with our siblings, the parents and the other relatives. And then we are told that how to behave with this individual and how to love, how to give affection, how to respect. All these things are learned in the first 3 to 5 years of life. Similarly, when they come in the professional course, this learning is that we taught them how to be a lifelong learner. Although we say that it is a lifelong learning, but we never inculcate those habits of the lifelong learning. Now, what we felt, what we have experienced here is that students also are crazy for the knowledge. And when they learn about something, it becomes rapidly outdated. For example, nobody knows about the coronavirus around 3 months back. Even now, our knowledge of the coronavirus, COVID-19, is still insufficient. And this insufficient knowledge gives rise to fear and failure of our decisions. We don't take the right decision at the right time. We are very much afraid. We are very much fearful of this. And that's why our actions are also dictated by those fears. However, if we had have known all these effects of the coronavirus and how to take the precaution, we could have tackled the situation much more carefully and very intelligently and emotionally. So that's why when these values are incorporated in our education system, and when the concepts are built up into the system of education, then it leads to a better decision, clear understanding, and clear actions. Another thing about our education system is that it is mostly oriented toward the employment and job. Right from the 5th class, 6th class, the parents start telling the children that, okay, if you don't study, you will not be able to find a job. Although job is very important, no doubt, and we have to find out the job. We have to strive for learning to find out a job, but life is much more than earning. These values we never discuss with our children, and it is also living a life which is very important. We never tell them how to live a life, how to be resilient, how to be like adaptable. So I think these are the values which needs to be built up in our system. So again, I will repeat that the purpose of education has always been to everyone, in a sense, the same, to give the young the things they need in order to develop in an orderly, sequential way into the members of a society. Now, this COVID has created an enormous opportunity for everyone. If I say it is a social experiment, what is happening is a social experiment, and we are learning a lot of things. This has created a lot of opportunity for everyone. In the education field, what has happened is there is a shifting of learning space from the classroom, in which benches are there, tables are there, teachers are there, blackboards are there, to the home. So in the home, the peoples are there, the parents are there, guardians are there, even the grandparents may be there, the siblings are there. So the shifting of learning has occurred from one space to another. And in fact, this has given us some of the advantages to the student also. Online teaching is as skilled as a face-to-face teaching. The things remains the same. The things remains the same whether it is a face-to-face teaching or whether it is an online teaching. We have to follow the same curricular steps. That is, it is the same. That is, we have to engage the students somehow. We have to talk to them. We have to go to them. And we have to understand their understanding. We have to modify our curriculum, our teaching methods so that it suits that environment. So there's a lot of learning is required in that area. The third thing which is happening is the active participation from the household members. Now this does not happen in the class because one teacher is taking a class, but in the house, parents may be there, the elder brother or sisters may be there. So they may be watching the presentations of the teachers, and also they will understand how much their child is understanding. So I think this is one of the area which can be tapped and which can be like innovated further. And lastly, when we talk about the assessment, what we talk about the assessment is the summative assessment. The assessment is done in the semester wise or at the end of the class. So it is a basically summative assessment. The student is given a marks or a CGPA score. Whereas now is the time to shift from the summative assessment to the formative assessment. And I think COVID-19 has provided us even enough opportunity to innovate with this assessment technology also. So formative assessment is that the learning needs of the student is understood by the teacher, and at the same time feedback is given. Based on the feedback, student try to modify herself or himself, and then the teacher take another initiative to further give the more information. So I think online classes has a better opportunity for providing the summative and the formative assessment also. And this is also a opportunity for carrying out the annual examinations. Now, we have never touched about the subject of textbooks based or book based examination or open textbook based examination. This is a time we can do the textbook or open textbook system of examination. Now here the students will be available to the internet. The availability of the internet is with the student. The books are available with the student. But here how he applies that questions and the application of that questions for the right answer, that should be our goal. And in that way, open textbook system examination may be more suitable, although still somebody may doubt about the fairness of the exam. But again, the fairness, if the child can answer in the presence of some of the assistant, I think the task, our goal of education is met. So that's why we can develop some of the fairness system also in this, in assessment methods, open textbook method. So the COVID has started so many things, and there's a chances of innovation in many fields. How to live a life with the family, how to enjoy the life. The shutdown is there, lockdown is there, and how we can enjoy in the presence of this lockdown with our home family members, and also continue our learning. How to get new ideas, how to be more creative. So I think creativity has come to the max at this time. So what this education has taught us is that online will become a part of our pedagogy, although it cannot replace the teacher. I often discuss with my students that suppose nowadays technology is there, and technology can teach you everything. There's a computer software programs, there is a robot, there's simulated programs, so they can teach you. So there is no requirement for teacher. So ultimately they come out themselves that no, sir, teacher is always required, because who will going to design these programs? It is a teacher. So even if it is online, it is going to be designed by a teacher. So the teacher importance will become much more valuable in this time. This will also give rise to new innovative way of teaching. So we can innovate our teaching, and new challenges of lifelong learning can be created. Solutions will develop very rapidly. Now for the student, the learning will become more contextual. it will become need-based, and it will also provide the opportunities to develop the human values in this pandemic and post-pandemic also. Teachers have the opportunity to identify the learner types, work type, that is, it is a visual, audio, or it is kinesthetic or reflexive. And we can identify the gaps in our learning. And based on that, the teacher can make enough arrangement for the student to learn. Assessment, on the other hand, will be more focused on the formative. And there is a change of assessment of learning to assessment for learning. So we can revise our assessment so that it can enhance the learning. And open text exams will become a norm. So to sum up, our steps will be that research for quality improvement is the need of the hour. What is quality improvement is that small changes in our education system, and we can judge the impact it occurs during a period of weeks or months. And then we can take a drastic step further. So the research should focus not on the facts and figures, but on the qualitative improvement in the student understanding. Also, this is a time post-pandemic to understand what ideas which worked or which are going to work. And also we have to understand the shifting from IQ to EQ, that is emotional quotient. Emotional quotient is nowadays much more valued because it gives more adaptability, relationships, and also the ability for resilience to the student. So I think this is a very important time. And lastly, we should not become the slaves of the technology, but in fact, we have to make the technology our slaves. And if we practice in this way, we can make our education system much better and long lasting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Before we invite the expert from medical field, I would welcome Mr. Uttam Kumar Jha, the chairman of the CBSE Sahodaya Schools, Indore. He is also the principal of Chaitram School, Indore.
Good morning. Good morning to everyone. On behalf of Indore Sahodaya Schools Complex, I welcome Dr. Kuldeep Singh for enlightening us for new normal, as the session was based on during and post-COVID. I am thankful to Pranav also, EduTV also, for organizing such a session for us. And as our teachers have already switched to the new virtual classroom teaching, and it is quite effective also. And I'm sure with the change is the ultimate which we all have to accept, and people are accepting it also. So we have to go with the change, and I'm sure everybody is equipped with the new technology. And post-COVID, the school is going to reopen. We have to educate our teachers and the children, parents, how to maintain physical distancing and how to follow the norms laid down by the government to run the school, and nobody would be infected by this disease. So I'm sure we all are working very hard, and I must appreciate the efforts of all the teachers to switch over to the virtual classroom teaching. And this is the new thing which we all have to accept, and we all have to go with this change. And as doctor has already advised and talked about, I couldn't join because of some technical issue in the beginning, so I could not hear the morning session 10-15 minutes. But whatever I understood, the pros and cons of virtual classroom teaching, and we all are equipping ourselves, we are educating ourselves to go with this change. And I'm sure with the coming days, with the experience, we would be implementing it in a better way. Over to Pranav.
Thank you, Mr. Jha. Thank you so much. And this was Mr. Jha's idea to invite some medico and enlighten all the principals. Thank you. Now, I would like to invite one expert from the medical industry only. And after that, we will open for question and answers, which all the participants can write on the chat. We welcome Madam Antara Bhargav. Miss Antara is the CEO of Suvitas India's This is the first physical rehab chain. She's a graduate of law from Trinity College, a qualified chartered accountant. She's also the founder and managing trustee of Wow Kitty, a charity that provides microfinance to rural women entrepreneurs. Welcome, ma'am. May I please request you to enlighten us on quality of life solutions for teachers, parents, and children during and post coronavirus outbreak? Fine. We look forward to hear you out for 20 minutes, post which we shall take up the Q&A with Dr. Singh and Madam Antra. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Firstly, I'd like to share my appreciation to EduTV for bringing such a sterling group together. I was also fortunate enough to hear some of Dr. Kuldeep Singh's presentation, and I must say he really summarized the situation and the agility that's required of the education industry very well. Similar to what the education industry needs to do to become and stay relevant in the current situation, healthcare itself has needed to adapt for three simple reasons. Number one, your travel to avail of healthcare services is and will continue to be restricted in a pre and post-COVID world. Secondly, unless absolutely required, it is highly unlikely that teachers, parents, students, this particular target audience is going to expose themselves to the risk of infection in healthcare situations, whether they are tertiary care hospitals or clinics, or even in terms of outpatient departments. And you can see that by the fact that the entire gym industry or fitness industry has almost entirely been decimated. And that's obviously second level. The third is that there are significant impact already and continuing implications of not just the lockdown, the restrictions on travel, and the fear of infection, both real risk and perceived risk, that will continue to exist till the pandemic is declared ceased. These risks are something that have had a significant emotional and physical impact on the population. As Sir said, I am the CEO of Suvitas. What Suvitas does is provide quality of life intervention. We are rehab hospitals. So when a person has had some sort of trauma and has had either a surgery or not required surgery, but needs to come back to life, whether physical or mental, they have to go through a rehab program. I'm not talking about addictive behavior rehab like drugs and alcohol, which would not really be relevant for this community. More in terms of psychological and physical medical rehabilitation that is required to deal with, for example, in the COVID situation, being under extended lockdown for huge amounts of time, both the implications on a child, on a parent that is possibly balancing working from home, managing homeschooling a child, and possibly taking care of elderly parents at home. In these circumstances, there are some immediate needs that as a teacher, when you are encompassing or trying to frame the new normal for your child that you are responsible for your students and their parents, because obviously a teacher's job is managing the parents as much as it is managing students, you have to be cognizant as to what it is that is affecting them today. So the quality of life parameters that is requiring intervention immediately ranges from psychological counseling to ensuring that you are able to identify early stages of anxiety, depression, to being able to take care of and identify special needs children and their parents' requirements. So it's a very wide range of quality of life issues that currently exist and are being impacted. Under normal circumstances, people would have been able to access the healthcare experts in this space by traveling, by talking to their GP, by getting access to specialists. That has been significantly impacted. So something that we were experimenting with at Suvitas, and now we have accelerated and launched, and I'm sure Dr. Kuldeep Singh will appreciate more than most people how difficult it is to do. While it is possible to pick up the phone and talk to a doctor, it is very difficult in the rehab space to provide you with online consultations, because generally the perception is that you need somebody physically to assist you for physical medical rehabilitation. what we have done at Civitas is bring most of our experts to the online space so that rehab, physical medical rehab, whether it is psychological counseling, whether it is physiotherapy for back pain, ergonomic issues, elderly care, you no longer need to wait. So the quality of life solutions, whether phone calls or videos, have been now made available to parents, to teachers, to children, whether they have special needs, whether they're experiencing fatigue, whether they have any health issues, except in a case of emergency. So emergency is not a quality of life issue. Emergency is a quantity of life issue. It's a life and death situation. That's not when you come to a physical rehab hospital. That's when you go to a tertiary care hospital. Today, Civitas has made that accessible to you. Now, I'm sure that there are many people who will not benefit from the online and video consultations because they will still require somebody to assist them physically with their needs. In those cases, we are not going to be in a position to help, but we can identify those cases and we can direct you accordingly. And that is something that, if you can allow me permission, please, administrator or host, to share screen, I would like to share with you a snippet of what we do. This is our actual therapy department. What you're seeing is an elderly gentleman who had no other issues other than some fatigue, started to experience greater loss of mobility, stopped walking, lay down, and then, like a lot of our elderly parents and grandparents, developed a bed sore. As any doctor would tell you, bed sores, if untreated, can become fatal. So that's a tilt table that the patient is on. This kind of equipment is not available and cannot be brought home. So in these kind of extreme circumstances, you will still need to opt for inpatient rehab. This is not the purpose of what we are trying to provide online and video consultations for. What we are trying to provide online and video consultations for, and I'm conscious also of time, is cases where you should feel, as administrators, as teachers, empowered to be able to access the healthcare system and be confident that there are solutions out there so that you're not alone. I'll take a very specific example. You're aware of the hashtag #MeToo movement. You're aware of what happened in Delhi recently, the boys' locker room talk that was exposed. You're aware that one particular 15-year-old child has allegedly committed suicide post that. You're also aware that the number of cases of domestic violence, both on children and spouses, has increased dramatically due to the lockdown. You're also aware that stress levels are at an all-time high, and stress has an immediate impact on both the cardiac health profile and subsequently other emergency profiles of younger and younger adults in this country. In this country, 1.8 million strokes happen every year. 300,000 cardiac cases happen every year. Surgeries happen every year. 400,000 deaths from tuberculosis happen every year. So COVID is not just our immediate problem. We have several other issues that are going to be exacerbated by stress. Stress also has, and the doctors will tell you, a direct impact on lowering your body's immunity. Your immunity can be strengthened by a variety of factors, including exercise, diet and nutrition, mental health techniques, and of course, sleep. All of these matters require sometimes expert consultation, whether it is dealing on the psychological aspect, whether it is dealing with your diet and nutrition counseling, whether it is dealing with your child's lack of development. These are all areas where, under normal circumstances, you would have been able to travel and avail of a solution. There's also a certain amount of stigma still attached in this country, as we are all aware, of being able to access anything that is on the quality of life spectrum, whether it is mental health or it is any hint of a physical disability. By offering these solutions online through video and phone, you are guaranteed privacy. You can get the help that you need, either as teachers or for your parents that you deal with, the students that you deal with, from the comfort of your home. Now, this is a very wide-ranging subject. A lot of different experts are available at our end. For the schools themselves, we offer you the range of expertise for your, whether you want to arrange a group session for your teachers, to give them access to our clinical psychologist, whether you want to arrange a guided physiotherapy session for your teachers on ergonomics, because they're all now not sitting in office chairs, they're all sitting at home bent over the dining table trying to deliver online classes, all suffering from back pain, shoulder pain, maintaining stress, eye strain, eye health. There are a lot of issues that are going to come up and going to continue to come up with the amount of screen time as well that we are utilizing. So to address all of this, unfortunately, we just need more technology at the moment. I'm going to stop here and take questions because, frankly, this is a huge space that is going to explode. And we are privileged to be able to provide this solution. We're already providing these services to a teacher in Bahrain. We are providing this to a student in Delhi. We're providing this to teenagers that have come forward and said they're really finding it very difficult to cope with not having been able to complete their exams. So a lot of different types of services are being provided. We are providing physical rehab to a mother who has been in pain for a long time and is too scared to step out and go to the hospital for her hip joint. We are providing this guided physiotherapy sessions to some elderly parents that the parent is trying to manage as well as with the child. We are also providing doctor consultations to some teachers who have been to school for admin purposes and who have been feeling some symptoms and have some fear as to what they might be exposed to. So there are a lot of different areas that I feel the requirements are only going to increase for the necessity for access to healthcare, and in very few cases people are actually going to travel to avail of them. So now being able to provide you online and video consultations and obviously webinars for groups, that's really what Suvitas's value proposition is for the quality of life segment and the immediate need that we see because of the changes that have been brought about by this pandemic. So, sir, I'm going to hand over back to you. And if you'd like to moderate the question and answers, I'd be happy to answer any questions that are put to me.
Sir, I suppose Kuldeep, sir.
Kuldeep, sir.
I think this is a very important questions you have raised. And accessibility and disadvantaged population is a very difficult to reach through this mobile technology or laptop or internet. So I think this problem can be tackled to some extent. What we have done at AIIMS Jodhpur, we have also students who have come from the very village level also, but they are connected. What we have done is that we have, instead of having the class from 8 a.m. till 5 o'clock, we have restricted it only to 4-hour session. And in the 4 hours also, we have restricted a session for only 30 minutes. So the screen time is reduced and the network usage by the student is also reduced, because that is also very important. We should not try to replicate the classroom environment with the online environment. Rather than we should use this opportunity as it can be a bridge in the later on also. So later on when we go for the online, this face-to-face classes, we can use some of these techniques in the online space also. So at AIIMS Jodhpur, we have also used the flipped classroom technique. What happened that we provide the video clips to the students beforehand, so they can see at their own time and space. And during the classroom, we have a more of the interaction. That is how they have understood the topic, what are the problems they are facing. And also at the same time, we are also training them about the COVID situation. Because they are in the remote place, and in the hospital, we are preparing everything for the patient care. So we are also teaching our students how to tackle the simple hygiene measures, social isolation, distancing, and about the virus, virology, diagnostic test. Even for the school children, we have devised some videos. So they can be used for the school training also. So in fact, this online training should be like contextual. The context right now is different. Everybody is fearful, afraid of going out. Even the parents may be disturbed. They may have a certain fear about, what will happen to my other members in the family. So that's why we should not try to replicate whole of the classroom session in our online session, but we can have the more like interaction with the students. What is their understanding? Each and every child can respond to that. Some content can also be used so as to continue with the teaching, but when the schools open, we can make it up with the like more intensive training of the student.
I think that's a great answer, Dr. Kuldeep Singh. And if with the admin's permission, I'd just like to step in for Mrs. Santosh once. One of the areas that I have expertise in, and I'm a second Dan black belt in Taekwondo. I was the first female referee in the national games in 1998. And I created my own personal safety training module, which is ageless and genderless. And I teach it for free to anybody. I've taught over 20,000 students and teachers and chief executive officers around the country in several languages. And I've used a lot of technology. We have built our own ERP in our hospital, right? So I speak from a place of certain level of experience of training children and adults and being familiar with rural bandwidth issues. So one of my recommendations to every single person here is that while video training, while personalized training, meeting somebody face to face in a classroom will never be able to be replicated and quality will be diluted. Your secondary level is obviously video, but your tertiary level is just having audio files of your lessons plans. And if you can share those video, audio files, you may find that reduces eye issues as well as allows people to repeatedly hear the same thing that generates, and you know how important in our culture repetition is to learning as well, and the benefit of repetition is. So even just a simple thing like having read or converted a text into an audio book or a lesson plan into an audio lesson can be very beneficial. The other aspect is taking feedback and questions, especially from your more vulnerable students. If they can send you audio messages explaining where they're getting stuck, and obviously interactive sessions are much better, and if you can have one-on-one calls with them or additional classes for them, that's obviously great. But in case, each teacher is also limited by their human capacity, if they can submit audio clips or video clips of where they're getting stuck, photographs of their way that they've answered the question and the issues they faced, that data will help you make informed choices as to how you respond, and will be less burdensome on the bandwidth that either they are facing or you're facing.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. And actually we have to, as Suja has said, that they are slow learner also, and they become disadvantaged in this situation. So I think we have to recognize that the people have abilities, different abilities. The VAR questionnaire can be administered. That is whether they are visual, auditory, reader, or kinesthetic. So based on that, we can devise our system. So that I think this is the best time to innovate also in this.
Absolutely.
The audio files also, you can use other methods also. I think what works best can be used later on also.
Yeah, Abha ma'am.
Am I audible?
Yeah, very much.
Okay. My question is to Dr. Kuldeep Singh, sir.
Yes.
We have been discussing all that, what to do during the COVID-19, right? My question is that after this pandemic is over, how to handle children in the school? What precautions to be taken? Because you are a medical, from medical field, so you would be able to tell us better how to handle such a large crowd in the school. And of course, we are missing this online teaching is just an option in this COVID time, but we are missing the human touch of the entire process of teaching and learning. That is for sure. There's no match to it. And as far as the limitation is concerned, there is also some limitation because the 100% attendance is not seen in the classes also. So that can be ignored. I'm concerned only for the slow learners or special kids, how to teach them or how to handle them during this online teaching. And then after this outbreak, after how to cope up with the fear that definitely it's going to leave.
During the COVID, what we are going to do, and after COVID, how the life will return to the normalcy. Again, what we are expecting is COVID is going to stay for a longer time. And it is expected that the coronavirus can stay in our environment for next 1.5 years or 2 years. So basically what we have to do is a coping mechanism. First of all, if you don't touch your face, mouth and nose with your dirty hands, you can massively prevent the coronavirus infection. So that has to be taught to each and every child, that whenever they touch any surface, they should not touch with that hand their face, eyes and nose and the mouth. So that will prevent the infection with the corona. Second is that social distancing should be maintained, at least a 1 meter distance between the children, and lesser time of contact with the children. Those who are having cough and cold, they should not be allowed to come to the school. They can stay back at home. And also, to some extent, it is very important that exposure should occur. What Sweden has learned from this pandemic is that if we allow a very restricted, educated environment, a student will also learn, and also they will learn how to distance themselves. At the same time, it will provide a herd immunity. So, and also one of the important scientific aspect of this coronavirus is that any virus, for that matter, any virus, whether it is a coronavirus or a flu virus, every virus get attenuated when it passes through multiple human lives. So ultimately the virus will become less dangerous. Even now, if we just understand this pathophysiology of this virus, it is only affecting those who are having underlying disease or those who are more than 65 years of age. So that's why precautions should be taken for those elderly population, those having a diabetes, hypertension, or disorders, and also the precautions should be taken by everybody. Students should be nudged toward the best behavior. That is, nudging should be used very drastically in the school, and they should be nudged for the best habits. And they should be advised that not to carry the virus back to the home for their grandparents. So when they are concerned about the grandparents, they definitely will take precaution. I think this is a time we can bring about the behavioral change among our population. The school time will be used in a very balanced way. At the same time, we can continue with our education in the school.
I have to say a big thank you to Dr. Kuldeep Singh, because being from the medical profession, very few people today are admitting in public that the fact that what we in healthcare know, that this virus is around for a long time and that there is no magic wand that's going to exist. And I just like to add very quickly, sir, to what you said, two other things. I mean, obviously one of them is the hand washing technique and the kind of rigorous adherence to that, and the specific technique of hand washing that we use in healthcare being shared with students would be very useful, you know, making sure that they follow all the 8 steps of hand washing. The second point I would like to just add to what you said, sir, is, you know, similar to what Sweden, New Zealand and all have done, a very important aspect of being able to combat and dilute the impact of the COVID virus is building immunity and your own physical immunity. Obviously, mental health is an important part of your physiology, but physical immunity being built by, making sure children are out in the sunshine, making sure they have access to nutritious food, multivitamins, they are partaking of fluids. One of the biggest issues I think India is going to face is classroom sizes. Because, you know, we do not really have a 1 meter distance between children in the classroom. So a lot of outdoor classes may be something that children benefit from. Going back to the Gurukul age, in fact, in some respects, but really focusing on the physical immunity of children and the teachers, of course. You have to look after yourselves before you look after anybody else. I think is going to be an essential component about not only surviving this pandemic, but also thriving through this. And I am very hopeful for India.
Sir, I also, hello. Good morning, Dr. Kuldeep. I am Jitendra Khurana from Indore.
Okay, good morning.
I just wanted to discuss one issue. Like you parted about the slow learners and those who have got a very good IQ.
Yeah.
For good IQ people, students, we are already managing the online classes.
Yeah.
Will it be convenient and comfortable to have a physical distancing and using the students in the classrooms? like the slow learners can be called to the school and maintaining the social distancing, can we do it for slow learners? On the other hand, those who are having a good IQ can be handled online. Will it be possible, sir?
Yeah, actually, we can use a lot of innovation. At the same time, we can, the policy of the Government of India and Ministry of Health and Family Welfare should be followed. That is, presently they are advising that school should not be there because students carry most of the virus through the school. So they not maybe allowing that to happen, but we can use the innovation for the slow learner. What we can do is flip classroom. So what we can do is that you can make a small video clip of your presentation. This is distributed to the student beforehand, like 1 day or 2 days before. The student can go through that. Now what happens is the intelligent person will skip through the videos very fast because he have understood everything in a go. Whereas a slow learner will pause, he will try to learn everything from that video. So whenever they come in the class, online class or physical class, they are better prepared. So they have a same level of basic understanding. Now, based on that understanding, we can build on the further knowledge. So even the slow learner can be helped in that situation with the help of flipped classroom. Or some other innovation can also be used because there is a home environment is there. We can also involve the parents.
Okay.
And ask the parents to just observe or sit with the child, and they can also be assisted at how they can teach the student at home. This may be possible only when the parents are having some time, or they also have understanding, and they have a time on their side to devote to the child. I think the parents will enjoy this.
Yeah.
The teacher assists them and guide them to, okay, you can do with this your child. Your child has this things which is very important to be learned. I think in that way, if we try to explain the parents, so it can be just like a parent-teachers meeting, but occurring at a distance with a social isolation.
Okay, sir.
Wonderful. Next.
I want to ask a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shraddha.
Yes, Shraddha Mohanty. Sir, you told that now it is the high time that we have to shift from summative to formative assessment. And currently we practice this open book assessment at our school. And it was quite successful, though checking of all those copies which the students have sent was a difficult task. Still, I would like to know more methods of assessing the students in a formative manner. Because apart from open book assessment, can there be any other methods too?
Yeah, there are now, because of this COVID, we got to know many methods of assessment, both online as well as during face-to-face. So in the online, we have now so many multitude of options like Google Classroom. Google Classroom also have a facility for like Google Forms, which can be prepared immediately and immediately administered to the student. They can get the immediately result, and the feedback is also given immediately. So basically the formative assessment means that the child is guided right from the first day, and he is built on that knowledge. Suppose if we follow these formative principles only, there is no need for the final exams, because the ultimate aim of the education is to bring about the behavioral change. So if we are able to bring about the behavioral change by the small steps day by day, with the feedback included in that, we can inculcate most of the changes and the habits in the children, so they become a lifelong learner. They will learn on their own, and also they will be able to learn what is important and what is not important. That is also very important, because what we are teaching nowadays may become outdated. Corona was never been anticipated. Even after an experience with the flu virus in 2011, we have not learned about that. So this Corona has taught us many things. And when it comes to formative assessment, we can use many methods. They are like a day-to-day assessment. You can give a small task. You can give even the open book assessment can be used as a summative assessment also. Because in the open book textbook, the open book is there, internet is there. Unless until the student knows how to apply that knowledge, he will not be able to answer the question. So in that case, we can use the innovative multiple choice questions. So we can give a timeline. That is, they have to answer those questions in 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, it will over. So they will not have enough time to jump to other internet site or ask their colleagues. That is what is the answer. So that's it is up to the teacher how they can devise the method of assessment in an innovative way aligned with the objective of the class. our objective is at the end of the class, they should be able to have these things in their understanding and their skills. So if we can devise the assessment accordingly, and we can provide the feedback also after that, I think our assessment will go away. Even the final assessment, summative assessment will go away. It will only be limited to the highest examination like NEET or IIT entrance, JEE, or some other UPSC exams. So in the school, we can replace all of this system. If we follow the guidelines of the formative assessment, we can replace the summative assessment. Because at the end, the slow learner may take a little longer time. Suppose a fast learner will take 3 months, so slow learner will take 4 months. So if we devise our educational method in such a way that the slow learner also takes the similar time learning all those things in a space at school as well as home, we can better prepare our society and the community, and it becomes a better society in the world also.
Yes, I'm Mrs. Doshi from Indore, Saudaya.
Yeah,
Sir,
yeah.
my question is, it is regarding some schools which are being run in rural areas and where students are coming from remote areas. They don't have enough facilities for online learning. Parents are also totally illiterate.
Correct.
What should be better option of this online learning? Or in case we ought to call them to school and run normal classes, then what precautions should be taken, sir? So that we can restrict the spread of this disease also, and normal teaching learning process should go on.
First of all, I thank you for your concern for the rural children. I think this is a very challenging area.
Correct.
Because of the teaching facility may not be available in that area. Teachers are all in the cities, and but there are certain options are coming up like mobile phone penetration. So I think the audio file method can also be used for teaching in the rural area. And what I found at AIIMS Jodhpur, we try to have the telemedicine as well as a telephonic consultation. And what we found that communication, when it comes to communication, telephone or the just simple mobile phone is best. What the patient can answer or ask their question through a simple mobile phone may not be possible through the telemedicine, which requires a lot of gadgets, the high internet availability in that area. So I think if we can devise a technology which is based on the telephone, or even another option is that I think in Indore also there is a possibility of community radios.
Yes, sir.
Communities radios are created by the educational institution, and the government also providing the subsidized facility and the licensing for these organizations. And I think if you are up to 25 kilometers away, then these can be used as a education for the student. And lastly, the online, if we can decrease our bandwidth, we can make the video content very small.
Yes.
We can reach to that through limited internet connectivity or bandwidth. We can reach to the students. And lastly, for advantaged population, we can devise innovative methods of like mobile classrooms or schools.
Yes, trying at present, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Yes. Sir, I'm from Indore. I'm Mrs. Leena Dixit from St. Arnold School, Lala Ramnagar. As you have said, COVID is staying in our environment for 1.5 years. So due to this, as we are making understand to the students, but at the same time, parents are also getting very much fear, are very much panicking. So how could we make them? Because parents only can send the students out from the school. So after this lockdown period, when we are going to start the schools, at that time, how we can make the parents understand, and can we keep some motivational or counseling session also for them? How is it?
Yeah, this is your very valid question. And basically we have to understand that this coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, is a medical problem. It is not a political problem. And as a medical professional, we already know that corona was already there for a very long time, for the last 25 years. Only thing is that the form of the corona which has come these days is a novel coronavirus, which is a mutated virus, and it is a novel virus and causes a more drastic infection to the lungs, especially in the those who are having underlying disease. What we have seen in our AIIMS Jodhpur hospital, most of the patients are not so sick. They are having sore throat, cough and cold, and most of the time they recover. Only the patient who are having more than age of 65 years or underlying heart disease, diabetes or renal disorder, they are only exposed to the severe form. So we seldom require the ventilatory care. And right now, fear is most important. Now, whenever we know something about unknown enemy, we have a more fear. But when we become knowledgeable about that, our fear comes down. So it is a time for the teachers also, for the medical professionals also, to educate everybody. And also nudging behavior should be inculcated among everybody. Now we have seen that our hospital infection rate has come down. Even in Kerala today, the news is that the mortality of the infants, which was around 8 per 1,000 live births, has come down to 7 per 1,000 live births in a Kerala with good infrastructure. So that means that our just changing the attitude of a simple hygiene can bring about decrease in the disease to a very great extent. So if we just practice a simple hygiene measure, both at hospital, in the home, in the school and the work, we can markedly reduce and target these viruses. And second thing is about the immunity. When we talk about the immunity comes by many means. One is the herd immunity. That is one person transmitting the virus to another, he develops antibodies, and gradually the lot of people develop the same immunity. And the second is by vaccination. Vaccine trials are going on, but it will take around 3 months for the vaccine to be available in India. That's why till then, we have to follow the simple hygiene measure and also improve our herd immunity. Slight exposure is very important, but limited exposure. If we keep a distance of 1 meter with another and not contact of not more than 15 minutes to a person who is having a cough and cold, we can reduce drastically the coronavirus. So social distancing, simple measures, and also in the school, when the school reopen, as you rightly said that the counseling will be required. The parental counseling, and each school should have a corner for educational material for the parents, the students to be taken away to the home. So I think the school can be used as a media for disseminating the health information. You will be very surprised to know that the Ayushman Bharat scheme of Government of India has an inbuilt system of this type, which was in the later phase. But I think COVID can stimulate this process earlier. So what they were thinking about that the health information should be provided through the schools. According to the age appropriate information, suppose a 3rd class student should be given information differently, a 10th class student is given it for same information differently. So the simple method of health promotion can be initiated in the schools. One session of a 10 to 15 minutes should be there once a week, twice a week, or every day. So I think this will going to change the society to a very great extent. And then we can concentrate more on the development of our society. Once the health problems comes down, and what we see, these health problems can be simply tackled by simple education. And not education, but by the behavioral changes. Unless until your behavior are changed, even the educated people are fearful about the virus. So behavioral changes takes a long time, and this needs some innovation. I think behavioral innovation, behavioral economics should be used much more during this time than in any other time in India.
Thank you, sir.
I just want to say that if any teacher or principal wants a doctor to be made available to speak to the parents in a group call or a webinar, we have doctors available that can be used. We have a dietitian available and we have a clinical psychologist available. So if you want to set up these calls, please contact Pranav and we would be happy to support.
Thank you so much, Madam Andra. And I would like to thank Mr. Uttam Kumar Jha, Chairman Sahodaya Indore, Dr. Kuldeep Singh, Dean, All India Institute of Medical Science, Jodhpur, and Madam Antara, CEO, Suvitas, Bangalore, and all the principals and educators and teachers. And I'm really thankful. And as Madam Antara said, we will definitely be organizing it quite often. And all the participants will be sent a certificates by AIMS, Civitas, and EduTV. Thank you so much, everyone.